All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive. Today, we're going undercover, peeling back the layers to explore the world of hidden intentions.
Ooh, a bit sneaky, huh?
Well, you could say that. I mean, we're talking about those who've mastered the art of keeping their true motives under wraps. We'll be looking at historical figures, master strategists.
Even some con artists, I bet.
You bet. We've got some fascinating sources lined up for anyone who's ever wondered what's really going on behind those carefully constructed facades.
This one's for you.
Absolutely. So, to kick things off, let's rewind the clock. Back to 17th century France.
Ooh la la.
We've got this captivating story about a woman named Ninon de Lenclos. Now, she wasn't just any woman. Ninon was a courtesan.
Known for her wit, her charm.
And let's just say a very strategic approach to matters of the heart.
Ninon was practically a legend in her own time.
Yeah.
And our sources tell us. She had this young protege, the Marquis de Sévigné, who was completely smitten with a certain countess.
Oh, young love.
But instead of advising a grand romantic gesture, flowers, poems, the whole 9 yards, Ninon told him to pump the brakes.
Really? Why's that?
Because sometimes going straight for the kill isn't the best tactic, especially when it comes to matters of the heart.
I could see that.
Ninon, she was all about finesse, her strategy, decoyed objects of desire.
Decoyed objects, that sounds intriguing.
Basically, she told the Marquis to act nonchalant around this countess, even a bit distant. Then, to really throw her off,
What did she do?
Ninon suggested that he should be seen with other beautiful women, just to spark a little jealousy, play the field a bit.
Oh, so it's the classic hard-to-get play. But wouldn't the Countess see through that?
That's where the final stage comes in. Confuse her completely, with unpredictable behavior. One day he's attentive, the next he's aloof. Keep her guessing.
Mind games, huh? Did it work?
Well, according to our sources, it was starting to. The Countess, she was falling for this charade. Until, that is, our lovesick Marquis made a critical mistake.
Uh-oh, what did he do?
He went and confessed his true feelings, completely ruining Ninon's carefully crafted plan.
Oh, no, he blew it. Talk about a rookie mistake. All that work down the drain. I bet Ninon wasn't too happy about that.
You can imagine. It's a classic example of how sometimes the chase is more alluring than the prize itself. Direct declarations, they can backfire.
Especially in matters of the heart.
Exactly. It's about keeping a little bit of mystery alive. Keeps things exciting, keeps the other person engaged. Think about it. Haven't we all been drawn to people who play a little hard to get?
You've got a point there. It's like that saying, familiarity breeds contempt. So a little bit of strategic ambiguity.
Can actually work in your favor.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together. But let's shift gears a bit. Talk about someone who took this concept of concealed intentions to a whole other level. Otto von Bismarck. A name practically synonymous with power and strategy.
Ah, Bismarck. A master of realpolitik. A firm believer in achieving his goals by any means necessary.
And in the mid-19th century, his big goal was a unified Germany with Prussia at the helm.
Exactly, but there was a bit of a problem.
Yeah, Austria. They were the dominant power in the region at the time.
And they weren't exactly thrilled about the idea of a unified Germany.
Most Prussians were ready to go to war with Austria.
Oh, absolutely. They were itching for a fight. But Bismarck, he knew that Prussia wasn't quite ready, so he played a very clever hand.
What did he do?
He delivered the speech in Parliament, and in this speech, he advocates for peace, even going as far as praising Austria.
Wait, hold on. He praised the enemy. Why would he do that? That seems completely counterintuitive.
Because he was playing the long game. This speech, coming from the guy known for his iron and blood policies, it baffled everyone.
I bet.
It threw his opponents off balance, made the king question his true intentions, but most importantly, it bought him time.
Time to prepare for war.
Precisely. He was using peace as a smokescreen to strengthen the Prussian military and ultimately achieve his goals through a carefully planned war. Down the line.
Wow. So by advocating for peace, he was actually setting the stage for future conflict. That's some next-level strategic thinking.
It is, and it highlights a key takeaway. Sometimes, to get what you want, you have to be willing to play the opposite role.
Even if it means appearing to go against your own beliefs.
Sometimes you have to.
Wow. That's a powerful lesson. It makes you wonder, how often does this kind of thing happen? Even in our everyday lives, I mean.
More often than we realize, I'd say.
Yeah.
Our sources actually have a great story about this, about a con artist they called Yellow Kid Weil.
Yellow Kid, huh? Catchy name.
He was infamous, this guy. A real master of deception.
Well, we are talking about concealed intentions, right? So what did this yellow kid do?
Well, he used what they call smoke screens, basically distractions, to hide what he was really up to.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So who was his target this time?
So in this particular case, he set his sights on a retired businessman, a guy named Sam Giesel.
All right.
And Weil, he approaches Giesel with what seems like a fantastic opportunity to buy a hunting lodge at a bargain price.
Oh, I can see where this is going.
Yeah.
A little too good to be true, perhaps.
You got it. But, of course, Giesel, he's tempted. I mean, who wouldn't be? A hunting lodge at a steal.
Yeah, it's a classic setup. Make it sound irresistible.
Right. But behind the scenes, Weil was orchestrating something far more elaborate.
So what was the real play here? What was he actually after?
Well, first he had to gain Giesel's trust. So he introduces him to this group of, get this, supposed millionaires.
Millionaires. Sounds a bit fishy to me.
Oh, they were all in on it. They even had a boxer with them, claimed he was part of their entourage. You know, just a casual millionaire thing.
Boxer? That's a new one.
Right.
What, were they going to settle business disputes in the ring?
Not exactly. But this boxer, George Gross, he was key to the whole scheme. Another con artist, actually, in disguise.
Okay, things are getting more complicated. So where does the hunting lodge fit into all of this?
It was the bait, the distraction. You see, Giesel, he was so focused on the potential profit, the deal itself, he didn't notice the oddity.
The oddities.
Like the fact that this boxer, Gross, he was, well, not exactly in his prime. Past his best, you could say.
I mean, I'm no boxing expert. But you'd think a group of millionaires, they'd have a top-notch fighter on their side.
Exactly. But Giesel, blinded by the allure of a good deal, he completely missed it. Classic smokescreen.
So while Giesel was busy dreaming of hunting trips and real estate deals, Will was setting up his next move.
Right. So picture this. Weil stages a boxing match, pits his boxer Gross against the supposed millionaire's fighter.
High stakes, I imagine.
Bets are placed, tensions are running high, and then, during the fight, Gross takes a seemingly fatal blow.
Fatal? Did he,
No, it was all part of the act. He
Yeah.
had this whole thing planned out, fake blood capsule, the whole 9 yards.
Wait, so he faked his own death?
Yep. And the millionaires, pretending to be horrified, they panic, they flee the scene.
Oh, I bet Giesel was freaking out.
You bet. He takes off too, leaving all his money behind. Didn't want to get caught up in a murder investigation.
And Weil, he's long gone with the cash. I have to admit, that's pretty clever.
Weil was a master. But the real lesson here is, don't get so caught up in one thing that you miss the bigger picture.
Yeah, I guess when something seems too good to be true, it usually is.
It's about being aware of manipulation, especially when money's on the line. Question the details. Don't just take things at face value.
Always look for the smokescreen.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So we've seen how deception can be used to gain trust and then exploit it. But what about the opposite? Appearing harmless to disarm your opponent.
Oh, that's another fascinating tactic. And our sources actually have a great example of that. With Haile Selassie, the emperor of Ethiopia, he was a master at this, projecting an image of, gentleness, diplomacy, even when he was facing down some pretty powerful rivals.
So he was using his outward appearance to his advantage. How did that work?
Well, he understood something. Appearing non-threatening, that could be a powerful weapon, especially when you're dealing with someone who's already suspicious.
I could see that. So who was he up against?
One of his biggest rivals was this warlord, the Bismarck. A tough guy. A seasoned warrior. He saw Selassie as weak, unfit to rule.
Okay, so you've got this wary warlord. How does Selassie handle him?
He invites him to a banquet in his honor.
Seems pretty harmless.
But Belcha, he's suspicious, always on guard. He insists on bringing a whole entourage of armed guards with him to the banquet.
You really didn't trust Selassie, huh?
Not one bit. Probably thought it was a trap. But Selassie, instead of getting offended, he agrees to it, plays the gracious host, further reinforcing that perception of him being accommodating, harmless.
So he played right into Balch's assumptions about him.
It was all part of the plan.
Wow. Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So at the banquet, Selassie, he even allows songs praising Balcha to be sung, feeding his ego.
Well, secretly plotting his downfall.
Yeah.
That's cold.
Well, you could say that. While Balcha was busy enjoying the feast, the flattery, Selassie's allies, they were busy disarming Balcha's forces, back at their encampment.
Oh, so it was a trap after all.
You bet. By the time Balcha realized what was happening, it was too late. He'd been completely outmaneuvered.
Selassie played him like a fiddle. It's amazing what a well-crafted facade can accomplish. You think you're dealing with a harmless lamb, but underneath, could be a cunning wolf.
Exactly. Don't underestimate your opponent, no matter how non-threatening they might seem. Sometimes, the quietest players, they're the most dangerous.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. Decoys, distractions, playing the opposite role, appearing harmless. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But it's all about understanding these tactics and how they can be used in all sorts of situations. It's about recognizing that not everyone shows their true hand right away. Sometimes the most important information is what's left unsaid.
Okay, so how do we actually apply all of this in our own lives? I mean, it's one thing to talk about historical figures and con artists, but what about everyday situations?
Well, the first step is awareness. Just knowing that these tactics exist. It's about developing that healthy skepticism, realizing that not everyone's always going to be upfront with their true intentions.
So read between the lines. Don't take everything at face value.
Exactly. Especially in situations where there's a power dynamic at play. Like, think about a job interview.
Ooh, good example. You're trying to impress the interviewer, right? But they're also trying to sell you on the jobs, the company.
Right. They're going to present things in the best possible light. But it's your job to look beyond that. Ask the tough questions. Try to get a sense of what's really going on.
Don't be afraid to dig a little deeper. Do your research. Talk to people who actually work there. Get their perspective.
Exactly. And this applies to personal relationships, too. Not everyone who seems charming has your best interests at heart.
Actions speak louder than words.
Right.
Someone can say all the right things, but their behavior tells a different story.
Absolutely. Look for consistency, integrity, genuine respect. Those are the qualities that really matter in the long run.
So be a bit of a detective in your own life. Look for clues, question your assumptions, trust your gut instincts.
I like that. Be a detective. And remember, concealing intentions, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's about strategy, picking your battles, choosing the right moment to reveal your true motives.
Like a poker player who doesn't show their cards too early, they wait for the right opportunity to make their move.
Exactly. But it also raises a question. If deception is so common, as our sources suggest, how do we develop those skills to tell the difference between genuine intentions and manipulation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we can learn all these tactics, but actually applying them in real-life situations, that's a whole other challenge.
It is. It takes self-awareness, careful observation, and a willingness to question not only others, but also ourselves.
Because we all have those biases, right? Blind spots, vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
That can make us susceptible to manipulation.
We do. We might be tempted to believe something because it fits with our existing beliefs or our desires. But it's important to step back, challenge our own assumptions, consider alternative viewpoints.
It's almost like we need to be detectives in our own minds, constantly investigating our thoughts and feelings to make sure we're not being misled, even by ourselves.
That's a great way to put it. It's a lifelong process, learning, unlearning, and refining our ability to see the world clearly with discernment.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. It really makes you think. I think the biggest takeaway for me is knowledge is power. The more we understand about human behavior, the better equipped we are to navigate the complexities of life.
I agree. And as we wrap up our exploration of concealed intentions, I'd like to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. If everyone is concealing something, even if it's just their insecurities, their vulnerabilities, how do we create those spaces for genuine connection and trust?
That's a fantastic question. And I encourage you, dear listener, to explore that further. Pay attention to the subtle cues, the unspoken motives, the masks people wear. You might be surprised by what you discover. Until next time, stay curious.